Now, I know we just built a hats page in order to show some of the routing that we can build. But the next thing we actually need to do, according to our final application, is build a shop page. Now, on this shop page, what we have are these previews of our collections. There are always 4 items in our preview, and there's a link to the actual category page. So if we click it, it'll take us to the page that has all of the items listed, and you'll notice that they actually use the exact same item component in the shop page. So what we're going to build is we're just going to set up a shop page and set up our collection previews on our shop page. So we're going to build a component for our shop page itself. We're going to build the component for our actual collection preview. And then we're going to build our collection item component. So let's get started. Now, the first thing we need to do is build the actual shop page. So let's make a new shop page file and folder inside of our pages. So let's do shop.component.jsx. And because we need to store the data related to our actual collections on our shop page, we're going to make our shop page a class component. So we're going to import React from React, and we're going to do class shop page extends react.component. And we know we need access to our state. So let's do a super props. And this dot state equals an object where our collections is going to be equal to an array that I have provided for us that has the information related to these collection items. We will take that array and paste it into our object. So now, this does look pretty big, especially because this is going to be our default state. So what I'm going to do is move this into its own file because it's going to be static and it's not going to change, at least for now, according to our application. And it'll be easier for us to focus on the main thing that matters about our shop page, which will be the component itself and its lifecycle methods. So let's make a new shop.data.js. And we are just going to export shop data, which is equal to that array. And let's actually capitalize this. Shop data. Export default const shop data. I think we just got to put it at the bottom. So let's just declare our const and then export default shop data. There we go. Okay. Now let's import it in like this. And let's import in shop data from. And now instead of this huge array, we'll just point to our array like so. And then in our render, we are going to return a div for now that just says shop page. And we'll just make sure that everything works first before we continue building out our actual shop page. So let's export default our shop page. And now inside of our app.js, we have to import our shop page from pages/shop/shop.component. And we're not going to style our pages yet. We're actually going to do that later. Let's just set up the base structure of our actual application. So instead of hats page and hats, we're just going to make sure we go to shop. And we're not going to use this hats page anymore because we were just using it earlier to demonstrate linking and routing. Now we will have to modify our final data that we actually had before, but for now, let's just not worry about it. We just need our shop page to be connected. So let's see if it works. And let's go back to our application and navigate to /shop. And we see our shop page. Awesome. Now, what we need to build is this preview component next, right? This preview collections component. So let's go into our components and let's add a preview collection component. And inside of our preview collection component, we need both the preview collection component itself as well as the styling related to it. Styles.sass. And now inside, we need to import React from React, as well as the style sheet. And then we need to actually declare a functional component for preview collection. And what we want to return in our preview collection, actually, let's call it collection preview. I think that makes a little bit more sense. And we got to remember to also update our imports. And what we'll end up returning is a div that with an outer div that contains our entire collection. And inside, there's a title, as well as the actual items themselves. So those items will be held in a div, and that will be our actual preview, whereas this will just be the overall collection preview. And our title, we will have it as title. And inside of our preview, we will end up mapping over the items. So now that we have an idea of what it's going to look like, we need to figure out what we're going to pass in. So we know we need the title. We know we want a title being passed in for our props. And we know we want it always to be uppercased. And then we know we want to map over an items array that we get in. It'll always be 4, but it will still be a map of some kind. So we are going to do an items.map. And we are going to map with the item. And we are going to render, for now, just a div with the item.name of the item. Oh, gotta remember those curly braces. Now, I think in our actual shop page component, our data has name. Yes, and it has an ID. So let's use the ID inside of our collection preview as the key. Item.id. So we'll just do this for now, just so that we have an idea that everything's working. So export default collection preview. And we'll also need to import this into our shop page. So let's import it in from our components, collection preview, collection preview. And this will be collection preview from here. So now, instead of a shop page, we will want to render out the actual previews. So inside of our container div, that is our actual homepage, or sorry, actual shop page. Let's just give it that class name of shop page. Let's do actually let's destructure our collections off first. So now we have to map over our collections with the collection. And let's render out a collection preview where the key is the collection ID. So if we look at the data, we'll see on the actual items of our collections themselves, there is an ID and a title. Now we want access to this ID. So let's actually destructure this off. And then we'll do the same thing we did last time, where we do other collection props, because we'll need them later. So for our key, we're going to pass the ID, and then we're going to spread in other collection props. And what we will actually spread in is going to be the items, the title, and then the route name. This is not going to matter. We just mainly need the title and the items. Now I think we actually have title and items. Awesome. So now if we look at our application, we should see that we are rendering out all of our information. Now, we do need to modify this data so that it only displays 4. So we're going to do that inside of this collection preview. So when the items come in, we're just going to do a items. Let's do a filter. We're just going to do item and index. And we just want to make sure that our index is less than 4. And now if we save, we should see there's only 4 items. So now the beautiful thing about writing our code functionally like this is that we can just modify our array, pass that new array through, right? And we can chain these array methods. Now, the only thing to keep in mind here, and this is something to keep in mind about React, is that whenever this component gets rendered, this function call, this chain of modifications to our array gets called every time, as long as this component has to re-render. So this is going to be a performance concern if this array ever gets really large or on slower computers. But we will take a look at how to handle this a little bit later. But definitely a thing to remember is that all of these anonymous function calls, right, inside of any component do get called again and re-rendered brand new whenever this component either gets rendered or re-rendered. Now that we have all of this in the next section, we're actually going to style this stuff.